And now, our story continues. Sora smiled softly. She thought she picked the correct choice, a selfless choice, but she was happy that she didn't let her team down. They'd be proud of what she did. For our next part of the challenge, you need to divide the remaining 9 players into 3 categories, said Yumaki, holding up 3 fingers in his hand. We need 3 navigators, 3 negotiators, 3 athletes, and 1 damn good leader. Yoli Inui slowly twirled her finger around her long and flowing purple hair, gazing absently around the bus. The trio of Ash, Misty, and Tracy were chatting quietly together, as was the pair of tamers at the back of the bus. Gary and Jessie sat alone, both of them feverishly writing inside their journals, a tiny green book that had been given by Yamaki to assist them with note-taking and the overall investigation. She also had her journal open to a fresh empty page, but Yoli had no idea what to write down. They were all strangers to her, and she hardly knew anything about them beyond first impressions. What else is there to write? Fumbling around with her purple inked pen, she scribbled down the first thing that came up to her mind. Gary is cute. Giggling softly to herself, Yoli quickly crossed the sentence out, slightly embarrassed at the fact that she was incapable of meeting a cute guy without instantly having a schoolgirl crush that fogged her judgment. Coming into this game, she knew her biggest obstacle was not losing focus on the real goal of winning this game. The chances of that happening were somewhat diminished though, seeing as her scattered brain was easily distracted at the sight of a handsome man. Admittedly, it was a shallow and annoying habit that she couldn't seem to grow out of. Before she even knew it, her entranced big eyes were running up and down Gary's body countless times, like a hungry wolf marking its prey. When she came into realization of what she was doing, she quickly turned away, promising herself to stay focused and not think about Gary ever again. Hey Yoli, what's up? Matashita asked in his normally charming voice. Seeing as Yoli was the only person whom he knew on the bus, the blonde quickly planted a seat beside her in an attempt to start a conversation. I'm feeling perfecto, Yoli laughed airily, happy to have her mind focused on something else instead. What do you think about that guy? Matt lowered his voice to a husky whisper, slowly pointing his thumb over to where Gary was sitting. That guy Gary acts like he's the mole. Yoli sighed, burying her blushing face into her hands. No matter how hard she tried, she just can't escape from thoughts about Gary Oak. All thoughts of competing were immediately pushed aside and disregarded from the moment she laid eyes on Gary. Right now, her mind was only buzzing with one thought. The most important thing about this game is to end up with a cute boyfriend. But surprisingly enough, Yoli wasn't the only person who seemed to be fascinated with Gary. Ambitious Pokemon trainer Ash was also psyched to meet with Gary again, but for an entirely different and sinister reason. He was going to kick Gary Oak's sorry little ass. Putting aside his immense dislike against Gary for now, Ash turned to his friends Tracy and Misty and joined in with their conversation. As I was saying, an exemption is a free pass to the next round, said Tracy, leaning forward in his seat to chat with Misty. If you win an exemption, you automatically proceed to the next round. I don't get it. What's an exemption again? Ash asked stupidly, scratching his hand in confusion. The big words are obviously not processing into his head very clearly. Never mind, Ash, said Tracy, laughing nervously. He had given up on explaining the simple concept to Ash. However, Misty Waterflower had no problems following very closely to what Tracy was saying. Seemingly knowledgeable about the concepts and rules of this game, Misty showed enthusiasm at the idea of winning an exemption early in this game. But an exemption would be really helpful to have in this game, especially this early on in the game, when you don't really know about the other players, said Misty. Oh, definitely. Obtaining an exemption is one step closer to the final round, said Tracy, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. While Tracy might not be as cutthroat as some of the other players on the bus, he was still a strong competitor who didn't want to lose. Imagine the humility of being executed first in the game, and yet the possibility isn't so far-fetched in his head. What would Professor Oak think of him if he was executed first? Oh no, he simply couldn't be executed first. Tracy wouldn't allow it. Even if it meant that he will do anything to win the ever-valuable exemption. Ready to begin the first challenge, Yamaki instructed the 9 players to leave the bus. Shy Kenta hid carefully from the sight of the cameraman, hiding behind Tracy's blocky frame, although still in earshot to listen to Yamaki's instructions. Hoping not to be noticed and merely blending in the background, this almost felt like a game to him, hiding from the visibility of the cameras as much as possible. Yamaki quickly explained Sora's decision of adding $5,000 into the pot by refusing 2 bonus points on her quiz, which received many claps and hollers from her fellow players. Sora smiled modestly, appreciating the overwhelming positive response from her fellow players. Sora was then asked to select 3 navigators to participate in the first challenge, said Yumaki. That would be Gary, Kenta, and Kenji. Darn it, Kenta sighed after hearing that his strategy of fading into the background was already foiled. Using a map of downtown Toronto, the 3 navigators will lead their fellow players to a Hilton hotel, where you lot will be living for the next several days, Yamaki explained. All 10 of you are expected to arrive at the hotel in an hour. Players not participating in this challenge aren't permitted to talk or assist the navigators in any way. I'll take $1,000 off every time somebody breaks the rule. How much money will we be playing for? Asked Gary. Sora waged a certain sum of money into this challenge. Yamaki gave a vague response. Anyway, let's begin the challenge. Yamaki handed Tracy a folded map of Toronto and then silently walked towards the back of the pack. As Tracy unfolded the map, his team members, Gary and Kenta, slowly joined beside him. Just follow us. We'll lead you to the hotel in no time. Tracy grinned at the pack of the players behind him. Jerry beamed appreciatively at the enthusiasm displayed, fondly connecting with the positive energy that the Pokemon Watcher provided. She couldn't put it into words, but Jerry had no doubts that they were going to ace the challenge with Tracy around. We need to locate that hotel, said Gary, sounding very serious and professional. Seconds later, Kenta pointed where the hotel was on the map. And then we need to find out where we are, said Tracy. Kenta dashed forward, frantically searching for any street signs around. Burying his face into the map, Gary scanned over the entire page until he spotted a mysterious marker highlighted area at the lower right corner. He scrunched up his eyebrows and tapped Tracy on the shoulder. What's this? Gary asked, fingering the faintly green highlight on the map. Brought to attention, Tracy leaned in closer to study the mysterious spot as well. Light green is the color of exemptions, right? Asked Tracy. Gary just shrugged, responding with a vague, I don't know. It is going to be a long walk, but the directions are easy, said Kenta, returning from his quick search for street signs. Unaware of the new discovery that his 2 partners had found, he hastily explained where they were. We need to make a left turn at the next street and walk straight. Gary's finger was still planted on the highlighted area, mumbling an ambiguous response. Tracy nervously looked at Gary for reassurance before replying back. We think this place might have something to do with an exemption, said Tracy quietly. Exemptions, corrected Gary with wishful thinking. I don't like the idea, Kenta frowned after studying the map for several seconds. It's a completely different route from where the hotel is. We wouldn't have enough time to make it to both places. We could make a little detour. It'd be really quick, said Tracy with no subtlety in his choice of words. Let's just go to the hotel, said Kenta. He didn't like the idea of a distraction, knowing that it will throw the group off course, and they haven't even begun the challenge yet. Well, I think we should check it, at the very least, suggested Gary. I'll go, Tracy volunteered immediately, his eyes twinkling with hope. All thoughts of the actual challenge vanished, for Tracy suddenly decided he was far more interested in going for the exemption instead. Wait, I don't think it's a good idea we split up, said Gary. Then he added a little impatiently, besides, I found the place first. It's an exemption. From the way Tracy stressed the final word, one would think it was something that meant life and death to the Pokemon Watcher. It isn't fair you get an exemption when we don't, argued Gary, not ready to give up on a confrontation. But a coy grin appeared on the lenient Watcher's face as he spit out 2 words to Gary's face. Screw you. And Tracy dashed off to a different direction. After quickly memorizing over the address of the building, he chuckled slightly as he abandoned the group for his own self-interest. The other players all turned to each other with shocked expressions, dropping their mouths in silent surprise at what Tracy just did. Jerry Kato took Tracy's escape the most emotionally, completely shocked at seeing human nature rearing its ugly end. The little girl with big innocent eyes couldn't believe the quick transition between an enthusiastic team player to the selfish no-good doer in mere minutes. One thing was for sure, first impressions were never accurate. Looking absolutely flustered that Tracy would just leave them in the middle of their first challenge, Kenta instantly jumped into panic mode. Trains of nervous thoughts roared through his meek little head. How were they ever going to finish this challenge? Luckily, a far more calm and collected Gary took reins of the disaster, hastily steering them on track again. After making a quick recovery from the absence of a third team member, the 2 navigators continued to lead the group through the busy streets of Toronto. We should walk straight ahead, with or without Tracy, said Gary, waving the map in his hand like a tourist flag. The young, confident professor unsurprisingly adopted the role of the leader, especially since Kent was far too passive and reserved for the job. Although one wouldn't notice from the tone of his solemn voice, Gary was definitely very disappointed at the turn of events in this challenge. Neither Kenta nor I took the exemption when we had the chance, Gary would say later say in a camera interview, summarizing up mostly everybody's thoughts in the challenge. Tracy only cares about Tracy, and he doesn't regard jack about anybody else. Sketchet is definitely on my hit list after this. Okay guys, I want to thank you for listening, and catch you next time. See you guys later.